So thanks again for everyone coming, and to get us started off, let's go to you, Dr. Evers.
So curriculum content standards are catalogs, lists of topics that children are supposed to learn in each grade, and the teachers are expected to teach them. And accompanying these Common Core national curriculum content standards are also a set of national tests, and California is adhering to one of these sets of tests. So these particular standards were written by a handful of people and under the sponsorship of some inside the Beltway, inside Washington, D.C. area advocacy and lobbying groups, particularly the advocacy group for state governors and for state school chiefs. Now, the first thing I think anyone should be concerned about is how academically strong are these, and I'm going to concentrate on math. And so they're missing topics. So for example, the definition of pi is missing. The area of a triangle is missing. There are dozens of missing topics. Most importantly, fluency with representation and conversion of percentages, fractions, and decimals back and forth between each other. So when I served on the Academic Content Standards Commission in 2010, we tried to supplement and fix all these errors and missing topics, but this was 2010. But unfortunately, within the last year, the State Board of Education has taken out scores of these fixes, so it's sort of back to the often unfixed national standards as they are. Okay, so now, how about experimental methods? Well, in geometry, there's a central topic called similar and congruent triangles. And if you reach back in your memories, you think angle, side, angle, side, angle, side. I know you don't necessarily use it anymore, but you could learn it again if you once knew it. So that's the standard algorithm, the standard teaching technique, learning technique for similar and congruent triangles. Well, they're not going to do it that way. They're using rigid motion. This has never been successfully taught in K-12 education in any country, in any province or state, in any city, in any time in human history. But the whole country's going to do it this way. Okay, now how about if there's a problem? How can we fix this? So when I was on the California Standards Commission in 2010, I was reading through the English standards, and I noticed there was an odd thing about long and short vowels in the early grades and the primary grades. So it's a small world of people that are involved in this, so I called up the person that wrote it. I said, gee, it looks like there's a mistake here. She said, yeah, that's right, there's a mistake. But, of course, 35 states had already adopted it, and they can't change it. So it's in there, in the mistake, and the tests will be done on the mistaken English standards. And there's no way to fix it. There's no body, there's no organization, there's no format for that. All right, I guess the next most important question that if I were a parent or a teacher or an administrator would be, is this going to work? Is this going to boost student achievement? There are a number of people that have worked on this question, but Tom Lovelace of the Brookings Institution has pointed out that if you talk about trying to explain the variance between classrooms and this sort of thing, this is a technical thing, but I will just say the following. We have already gotten in California what we're going to get from having standards in terms of improving student performance, improving teacher performance. That is his conclusion. We're not going to get something new from these different standards. Now, what about countries around the world? Well, most countries are not as decentralized and so forth as we are in the United States. They're more hierarchical, they're more everything run from their national capital. And of course, we are drifting in that direction. But, so the countries that are worse than the United States have national standards. The countries that are better than the United States have, some of them have national standards too. So you can't really tell because there's only a few countries that are somewhat like the United States, pretty decentralized. But the interesting thing is that two countries that are pretty similar to the United States, Australia and Canada, have even less national control, centralization than the United States. And they are doing better. Back in the 1970s, they were in about the same position we were on international tests. But they've been climbing. And they have, Canada doesn't even have a national Department of Education. They don't have any national coordination at all. So I don't think it's going to work. Now, we have in the United States, and this is another, so I've been talking sort of kitchen table, is it going to help our children? But I think there's also a long-run question about what kind of children, what kind of country our children will inherit and our grandchildren will inherit. So we have something in the United States that goes back to the design of our Constitution by James Madison, and that's competitive federalism. So you have 50 states, you have all these school boards, you have all these water district boards, we have all these refuse, sanitation boards, all these different things. They're all competing, and people can move around, and they're all competing for businesses and so forth. So they're different, and they're doing things differently. So they can be, by having these, you can have closer approximation to voter preferences, you can experiment, and you can innovate, and you protect liberty by people being able to move around to something that's closer to what they want. Okay, so now we have this national program run by this cartel of the states and funded by the tests that enforce it, that police it, are funded by the federal government, their creation. And so this is an attack on competitive federalism, and it's an attack on the design of our constitutional system. And I say to you that 50 states are better than one executive branch bureaucracy. And 15,000 school districts are better than one national executive branch bureaucracy.